Confirming going live. Refresh. All right, Siddhizzle. We are live, I think. Are we? Are we? Check 1, 2.
We
Yep,
are.
we're live. We're live.
Notification. We're live.
Oh, you got a notification, did we?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Episode 5, Siddhuey Reviewy. We're still on the NBA. Did we miss a week last week, or did we do a show last week? I can't even recall.
No, we missed last week. I think we forgot to preview the finals.
That's right. That's right.
But this is a good time. It's 3 games in, so I think it's a good time as any to talk about it. But yeah, that we missed that last week.
And I mean, obviously you've been watching.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what I want to point out real quick that's interesting?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I guess it says lead right there. I thought they put the number of how many games they've won over here on the right side, but they do not. Anyways, all right. So Heat Nuggets, it's been crazy. I'm rooting for the Heat. Jimmy
Really?
Butler, yeah, dude, Jimmy.
Okay.
Jimmy.
Okay.
Jimmy's my guy.
Okay, Jimmy. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I like Jimmy too a little. Not really, but kind of.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess it would make sense to root for the Nuggets because it's West Coast, Western Conference, whatever. But Denver isn't really on the West Coast to begin with.
Yes, but Miami, my thing is, Miami has less likable players compared to Denver.
What?
Yeah.
Jimmy Butler. Did you not hear it?
In fairness, I don't know if you know this, Michael Porter Jr., one of the players of the Nuggets, he's a super anti-vaxxer, like a super conspiracy theorist dude and shit. So you could say that, he's not a great guy.
I was about to say, and why am I going to be rooting for the Nuggets? But go ahead.
So he's not a great guy, so he's a minus there, right? But Nikola Jokic, decent guy, really low.
I don't know. Is he?
Yeah, dude. He's like one of those anti-stars in the sense where he has no care about fame. All he wants to do is he plays basketball, then he rides his horses in Serbia, and that's about it. That's all he really does. And he doesn't have any social media. He doesn't do any interviews outside of the ones that he has to do after the game ends, right? So he does his mandated ones. But he doesn't do any profile interviews, nothing. He's just a really quiet genius, So
I mean, I just don't I get what you're saying, but I don't find him to be compelling or attractive, and not in a sexual way, but just, you know what I mean? And in a sexual way, all together. I don't have any type of oh man, this dude's cool. I just don't see it personally. He looks like a big, he'd be in a fairy tale, which is why you probably like him, because he's he looks like he's straight out of freaking, Lord of the Rings or something over here, or Game of Thrones or something. He doesn't appeal to me. All that sounds really horrible, and as I'm saying, I'm that was really messed up. So I take back what I just said. But you know what I mean? He has a certain vibe to him, where Jimmy Butler seems like a cool dude. You could kick it with Butler, have the nice little Corona skis out on the beach in Miami.
I mean, yeah, I think probably so. Jimmy Butler seems also a little bit fake to me. He kind of pushes that persona a little bit.
He's too cool.
Yeah, he's too cool. I think your point about Nikola Jokic is one that's a really good one, because it's really been debated all across sports. Exactly what you're saying has been the talking point around sports. Is he interesting enough to drive ratings and to drive interest, or is he like a Tim Duncan, where it's like, yeah, everyone appreciates him and it's like, yeah, you're great, but no one's like, who's interested in Tim Duncan?
I like
You know what I
Tim
mean?
Duncan. I like Tim Duncan.
Right, but you're not sitting there like standing for Tim Duncan like you are for like Steph Curry. You know, he doesn't inspire passion. He's just like a player.
But I
You
mean,
know what I mean?
San Antonio also. I guess this is kind of like the Nuggets too. Like they
They're in
don't.
Denver. It's the same thing.
No, yeah, that's what I was saying. Is that San Antonio and the Nuggets kind of similar, where like their team just doesn't seem attractive in general.
Which is so strange to like the hardcore basketball fan because both of those teams, well, especially this Denver team and Nikola Jokic in particular, play magical basketball. Like the kind of basketball that like if the Warriors play something similar to that, but I think with Jokic it's even more beautiful because he's just going for layups and stuff. But it's amazing what he's doing. Like if you watch him play and you like basketball, I find it hard to believe that you couldn't like appreciate it, but maybe you wouldn't like enjoy it.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like
Maybe it's like because he's not a high flying player. He's not expressive on the court, which I think are things that the fans look for. He's not particularly flashy in the sense that he's quick, I guess, quick movements. You know, it's all slower movement, so to speak. But man, for me, he's like a combination of Larry Bird and like Magic Johnson and like, I don't know, a little bit of like Hakeem or something in the post. Like he's incredible.
okay,
He's still incredible. But I totally get what you're saying, and I think that's kind of the problem with him. And I've often thought about this, and I've actually, I think you're the perfect person to ask. Is like, does superstardom in basketball have to be more than just the way that they play on the court? Like let's say, for example, that I took Jokic's personality, his same aversion to media that he has, right? And I put that on Steph Curry. But Steph Curry's game, but you get all of Jokic's lack of personality, I guess you would say, all of his like, I don't want to do interviews, I don't want to do all that kind of stuff. Is he still a superstar?
yeah, it's pretty much James Harden.
So you're saying you would like him, but you wouldn't enjoy him?
I don't personally like James Harden. Don't put that in my mouth. I'm just saying that that's kind of the vibe that James Harden gives out.
James Harden's like
he's not good at interviews. He kind of seems like he doesn't want to be there. Yet somehow he's the superstar. Yada yada. I don't know. I personally agree with that.
But I think the difference to me is in the aesthetic of how they approach the game. Like Jokic is so team oriented and he's so connected to his team that you don't get the sense that like he's isolated like Harden is. And like it's just Harden, like I'm doing my own thing. Like you always feel like he's connected to the larger group.
Who, Harden?
No, Jokic.
Jokovic. Yeah.
You feel that.
No, yeah, I feel that. I feel what you're saying. Dude, listen, Siddhuey, here's the easy answer for you. The reason that I'm even attracted to basketball altogether is because basketball is very similar to even like skateboarding, where, yes, I'm going to make this comparison, to where, and this is why basketball has more of a social media presence. Me and BK were talking about this earlier, as well as just like a world presence over football or baseball, because or even the NHL, the three big American sports outside of basketball.
Yeah.
You're a character in the NBA, kind of like how you are on skateboarding. And like if one skateboarder is so cool and badass, the rest of his brand that he's associated with is brought to the top. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of how basketball works. It's also a team thing, more obviously a lot more than skateboarding is, but one guy can make the rest of that team pop. We just kind of saw that happen with the Memphis Grizzlies. You know what I mean? Ja was tight. He comes up. Then the rest of these guys kind of start getting probably some deals, and so forth and so on. That's what kind of makes basketball better than football, baseball, and NHL right now. Now we've seen these types of things happen in football, baseball, and NHL, but currently, football kind of still has it. Baseball has completely lost it. Completely, pretty much. Although I will say, last week with the Yankee dude, I say this, but I don't even remember his name. I think Judge.
Yeah.
Judge.
Aaron Judge. Yeah.
He went through the fence. It was like a internet sensational clip. You need that kind of stuff where basketball has that every game. They have a clip rolling out. You know what I mean? Football kind of has it, but it really is just the quarterback, maybe a wide receiver. But even that's kind of far and few between nowadays. Basketball almost has that for every team for the most part. For the most part. And some teams even have multiple guys that can fill that role. And it is because of their personalities, the way they dress in the interviews. There's a lot going on here, dude. Yeah. When you watch the baseball interviews or the football interviews, most of the time they're wearing like team clothing. They're wearing like, I play for the Patriots. I got a Patriot shirt on and a Patriot hat. I play for, the New York Yankees, They're a little bit more difficult because, from my understanding, they have certain rules that they have to abide. But let's say I play for, I don't know, the Washington or the Seattle Mariners. I'm wearing my Seattle shirt. You know what I'm saying? With a towel around my neck. Bro, you watch an NBA interview, they're decked out. You know what I mean? Like they're instantly decked out. That's the difference, I feel like, between basketball and all the other sports. So to answer your question, yes, I think the NBA does want you to do that because they've realized, and I think it took them a long time, because you look back at the 90s, we both know this because we grew up with it, they weren't supposed to dress like that. They were getting in trouble. Remember, I know you know this time period. They had to wear suits and all that. I think the NBA finally realized, and this is smart on them, they were ahead of the curve on this. They realized that's stupid. Let these dudes be the personalities that they are. People want to see that. And they did that before the internet kind of really blew up. I mean, the internet existed in that time period, but it wasn't at your fingertips. Now that it's at your fingertips, people really want to be able to connect with those people, those players, and they're able to. And the NBA almost feeds that need. Kind of like what Jimmy Butler's kind of how he acts, how he is in the interviews, his little one-liners that he does. He's quick, he's witty. That's what I like about Jimmy. Is he's quick, he's witty, and he's funny on the court. I mean, come on, dude. That whole
time
that was hilarious. That was
amazing. Yeah.
Internet gold. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's a meme, a walking meme scenario, and he capitalized off that moment. And no offense to the Nuggets, but they don't seem to be doing that. They don't have that. Now, they're great players. I've watched some of the games. I've watched some of the highlights. Clearly, they're a phenomenal team. But that's kind of all they are, I don't know. It's hard to say. And also, like, I think we're seeing one of the greatest coaches. And I know you've said this, too, with the Miami Heat. And it's cool to see this guy still be in the league for the same team. He hasn't been fired. He's had down years, a lot of down years. He even lost a championship to the Lakers in the bubble. He didn't get fired. The Miami Heat truly believe in him. The owners do. So there's kind of, I don't know, for me, there's a cool story that goes along with the whole Miami Heat situation. And that's kind of why I'm rooting for him. It's kind of why I'm rooting for him. One thing I wanted to ask you, and I should have put this in the chat so we could pull up the image. How do you feel about people in Colorado, of all places, dressing up as the Joker and attending the game after what has happened out there? I mean, I only asked this because there was a text message chain that I was a part of that brought that up and was like, that's kind of an eerie thing to be doing in that state. What was your vibe on that?
Yeah, it was never brought up by anyone.
Yeah, it's weird.
No one brought it up, which I don't know. Is that a good thing that we've moved past it? Like, this is not a part of our time now. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know how you handle these types of things, because that was 15 years ago.
No,
right?
Was it?
Wasn't it during the Dark Knight?
Dark Knight Rises, because it was after the popularity of the Dark Knight.
2012, then probably something like that, maybe.
I'll look it up. Keep talking.
But anyway, like, yeah, no one said anything about it. No one has mentioned it. At least that, like, that I can see naturally.
You're right.
12, yeah.
Yeah.
So 11 years ago. So I mean, I don't know, but Jokic, it's like I don't know. They just celebrate him in that way. And by the way, I should say like I understand that everyone calls him the Joker because like Jokic, Joker.
Yeah.
A stupid fucking nickname for him.
Yeah,
It's
stupid
stupid. It does
nickname.
not. It does not. It doesn't even make sense for him because he's not like a Joker type of player. Like you know, he's not like a Joker. He's nothing like that character. He actually has a nickname called the Big Honey, or Big Honey, and I think that's like the best nickname for him, and it should be used. Look, I don't dispute your point about Miami and their better storylines with Eric Spoelstra, who, by the way, married a former Miami Heat dancer. Interesting story on that.
I didn't know
And
that. That's even cool. Wow. Wow.
yeah, yeah.
Good for him.
Look her up if you're if you're wanting to get. I can see punching away over there on that phone. So look up his wife. So Eric Spoelstra, yeah, he's got a great story there. Obviously, with the organization, he's been the coach since 2008. So this is his 14th year, I think would be, and then maybe his 15th year. So that's yeah. They have a great storyline. You know, for me,
Wow.
oh, you saw her, huh? And yeah, much younger than him.
Good for him, dude.
Yeah.
Good for him. That's interesting. I didn't see that coming at all, man.
Eric Spoelstra. Yeah.
Some of the photos of him with her and their kids just kind of like,
Yeah.
yeah. That's all I can say about that is yeah.
They
Good for
apparently
him.
so Eric Spoelstra's career, I don't know if you know this, he started as the video coordinator. Like he started like ground floor for the Heat, right?
Yeah.
So apparently he met her during that time
Wow.
before he became the coach. That's what they say. Now look, if Eric Spoelstra's got that kind of game where he can be a video coordinator and go up to a cheerleader and be like, "Yeah, let's make this thing work." Well, you know what? Maybe that's the reason he is the best coach in the NBA. Maybe that is the reason he is. But I think that he had something him being the coach had more to do with his possible relationship with her than not. But who knows? Who knows?
Interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah. But you know, anyway, so like, yeah, they have a better storyline. I think you're right. I just like Nikola Jokic's game.
Yeah.
I like his personality, and I think it should be celebrated what the Nuggets have done. They are doing it like how the Warriors did it. They built it organically.
Yeah.
Like this isn't like some team with a bunch of superstars that came together for like, you know, a super cause. Right? This is just
until
like
next year.
Until next year. But this is just a team of guys who like have grown up in that organization for years and have bonded together and have played together. So I think it's kind of cool to see them do this thing, right? And like Jokic, that kind of player, the way that he plays the game, I want that style to be celebrated and to be won, because I think it's a great style for younger players to play like that. It's unselfish. It's team basketball, you know? And when your superstar is the most unselfish player and gets everyone involved, it makes everyone else like get excited about playing, right? Like you watch the Nuggets, look how hard everyone cuts. They're cutting because like they know he'll pass the ball to them. He won't just take the shot, like he'll find them. You know what I mean? And like that's what he inspires his teammates to play a certain way. You know, and that to me is what makes him so cool, and I really enjoy him. But you're right, his personality is not exactly. He's not going to go on Jimmy Fallon and exactly wow people, probably. You know what I mean? So, but you know,
Dirk had better personality, and he was kind of in the same boat.
Well, the difference is Dirk also wanted to be a celebrity.
Yeah.
Right? Like Dirk wanted to, and that's not a bad thing. Like part of, you said this about you know, basketball players like building the business of the NBA, you know, expanding its brand. And like, so you want the players to really put on a show on and off the court, right? So when guys like Tim Duncan or Nikola Jokic who are so reluctant to do interviews and kind of express themselves, it isn't really helping the business of the NBA. You know, like I'm not trying to be harsh on them. I'm not trying to criticize them, but you're not helping the NBA because you're just kind of like keeping yourself away from the fans, right? But that being said, you know, there are different personalities. It's how it goes. But the thing with Jokic is he's so much more like I don't want anything to do with fame. I want nothing to do with it. right? Which is like something that we rarely ever see from our superstars. You know what I mean? He's just like, he literally is like, I'm gonna go play basketball, and then when I'm done, I'm going to Serbia right away. We all know where he stays. He basically says that they come. He comes in, and everyone says in the town like it's a small town. Like they go, okay, we see him the first like week, and then he just there with his horses, where he races his horses the rest of the summer. Comes back to Denver to play basketball, wins, plays great again, and goes back to Serbia, and that's it. That is his life. You know what I mean? Like, so this guy is.
I just don't.
Yeah, it's not interesting. It's not compelling, but it's like that's.
It's not even just not interesting. I just don't like any of that. I don't like any of that. I'm not a fan.
So, yeah. Anyway, there's a funny deleted tweet by Kevin Durant actually. You might be able to look it up and find it out, or I can send it to you in the chat really quick. And it is Kevin Durant tweeting about Nikola Jokic and him not wanting to be a star, because to your point earlier about Jokic being boring, there was a commentator, a radio host, Dan Lebitard, who I actually really like, and he was saying like this dude is like Magic and Bird combined, yet no one in America cares, and no one in America is interested by him, right? And Kevin Durant tweets on that, then later deleted it, but he tweeted about it, and I don't know if you can find it, but it's really great. If not, I'll read it off to you.
I
Let
don't
me know if
think the Joker wants to or cares about being a star. Go to work and go home. FaceTime his horses and hop in the pool. Was that it?
Yes. And I think, yes, Tubi gave it a very terrible reading, but that was the tweet. The horrible fucking reading.
Dude, like, to be honest, this website, and this is the one thing I also have to say about basketball or just professional sports, their websites are so chock full of ads that literally while I was trying to read it, an ad popped up in front of it. It's like, dude, like, what is up with?
Yeah.
It's crazy. Am I wrong to say that like?
No, there's a lot of ads. No, for sure. You know what I mean? So it is.
Everyone wants to get a paycheck. Here, I'll pull it on the screen.
It's okay, but so Durant anyway saying that basically, it just kind of speaks to Jokic's like not his unwillingness to be a star, right? Which is not really that exciting. But in any case, I just want to like quickly talk about the series really quick, because we're kind of getting away from like the series itself. Unless you can bring that up, then we can talk about it.
I have the. It's on screen right now.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, I think Durant's tweet speaks to it. This guy is just not interested, really. I mean, to be a star, which kind of sucks when the best player in the NBA, I guess, isn't interested in like doing any media and anything. But I've always wondered if I've always thought like, what if Michael Jordan was like Nikola Jokic, where he had like. He just had any personality. He didn't want to like engage with the media. He was just like, I just want to be alone. I mean, he'll still be wildly famous because of the way that he plays, but it might take away from some of the shine. In any case,
hold on one second, Siddhuey. He had said, I guess, previously in a game, probably watch my friends race horses in Italy. Hopefully, it will be sunny so I can be outside in a swimming pool. So Durant's comment, from what I'm reading. He was just almost reiterating the same thing that Jokic had said, I don't know, a few days prior. I'm kind of confused, but I didn't realize people were that still invested in horse racing. But, I mean, it is Serbia, so.
Well, I think you also are not – you probably don't even know what kind of horse racing he does.
Buggy?
So you – huh?
Buggy?
Buggy, yes. Wow, I thought you assumed him to do – horseback, he has buggy.
No, my grandpa grew up on a farm, buggy. I know that was at one point here, even in the United States, that was the more popular version of horse racing. So when you said that, I kind of figured that's the two types for the most part. Yeah. Unless he was playing polo, which I highly doubt he'd be doing that. So
no, he's
that'd
not
be interesting.
He's riding buggy.
He's actually too. If I'm not miscorrect here. And I know a little bit about horse racing. He's too big to even ride one, correct? Unless it was a Clydesdale.
Yeah, to actually ride a horse,
Yeah, he's too large.
Yeah, he's way too large.
Yeah, I'm too
Yeah,
large. I couldn't ride a horse, a traditional horse.
really?
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm over
Maybe
the.
I'm.
I need to lose some weight. Maybe if I lost some weight, I could. But at this point in time, too big to get on a horse, unfortunately.
Yeah, I probably couldn't get on it either.
Nah, dude, you could
Nah,
ride a horse, dude.
I'm
You could
probably way too
jockey a horse right now,
I'm
bro.
probably way too muscular and buff to try to do it, so it's probably not possible.
Yeah, okay,
But,
maybe.
in any case, about this series, really quick about what's going on. It's 2-1. The Nuggets won yesterday. They're up 2-1 in this series. I think they're gonna win this thing in 5 or 6, but I'm not counting out Miami. So I think there's still some interest, but you know what? 24 hours from now, we could be sitting here going like, "Oh, this series is over," because Denver will be up 3-1, and it's just like, okay, this is done. So it'll be interesting. Game 4 tomorrow. Don't miss it. It'll be great. And yeah, it's a good series. So yeah, it's on the finals.
You never count out the Nuggets. Now, if they lose this next one, I think it's going to be a 4-1 win for the Nuggets personally, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
All right, let's move on. We'll come back to this. I think, or we'll either that or we'll be talking about a champion next week. So we'll see. And let me say this too. I'm not against him winning. Real quick, like I'm just saying, I like Jimmy Butler. I've liked Jimmy Butler for a while now too. He's just something about him. He's so witty and I kind of agree with you that it does seem like he is kind of putting on a show, but I appreciate the show he's putting on.
Yeah. Hey, it's look, bro. When basketball's at its best, and you kind of touched on it. It's like wrestling.
Yeah.
You got great characters.
Yes.
And you got and Jimmy Butler is one of the good characters of the NBA.
Yeah.
So it's like that should be celebrated for sure. Yeah.
And speaking of some of my favorite characters, I see our next topic is one of my favorite characters, Oakland's own Damian Lillard.
Yes, it is. So I don't know how much you've been following. So Damian Lillard, has been constantly pledging his allegiance to Portland, right? There's been trade rumors with him. We know he's always been saying, I'm staying with Portland. I'm staying with Portland. That's what it is. And so this report is basically, he was on a podcast and they asked him, if you could play for 2 teams, what would they be? Or you could play for any team in the league you could trade it to, what would that be? And up until this point, he has never said a team. He has never said. But this time he said the Heat and the Nets. And he said the Heat because he's really good friends with Bam Adebayo, and then the Nets because he's really good friends with Mikal Bridges, right? And he also said in a separate interview he didn't want to go to Boston. Whatever. That's his choice. So I
understand that, but okay.
In any case, him talking about it has once again kind of reignited the conversation about him honestly being traded from Portland. And I personally think Portland would be almost negligent not to trade him this summer. And honestly, not to trade him within the next 2 weeks. Because in 2 weeks is the NBA draft. This 2 weeks from today, I believe, is the NBA draft.
Yeah.
So Portland has a 3rd pick. Unfortunately for them, they don't end up with the number 1 pick where Wembanyama is going to go. And the 3rd pick. If things go the way that they could possibly go, Scoot Henderson will end up as the 3rd pick and go to Denver, to go to Portland. And if that happens, Portland needs to trade Damian Lillard and start building around Scoot Henderson and Shaedon Sharpe and see what they can do. Because you're not winning with Damian Lillard. And all you're doing is just kind of holding him on for nothing. And Damian Lillard, to be fair, too, he's resisted trades. He needs to also kind of be like, bro, this is not going anywhere. And I understand that he kind of likes being the big king of the town over there in Portland, and he likes, being the guy.
But it's also not like it's the West Coast. He doesn't have to travel very far from here to Oakland. He comes home. He does a lot of stuff locally, fundraisers and stuff of that nature for the community. I'm just saying, I think that's part of the reason that he liked being in Portland was everything that you said. On top of that, he's a very short plane ride back to the Bay.
Yeah, but here's the thing. His career's he's like 35 going, I think 35 right now, or 34, 35, something like that. And bro, it's like, is this really how you're gonna end out your career?
No, I agree.
You're just gonna end out your career playing on a team that doesn't make the playoffs and is just in the lottery kind of, and you're just putting up great stats and you play like 55 games.
Eh,
Is that really like what is that?
Yeah.
Like we were. I mean, I'm sure if I asked like Bradley Beal, people kind of make fun of Bradley Beal for the fact that like he's been sitting there in Washington, not getting traded, just collecting his money, losing games, right?
Yeah.
What's the difference between him and Damian Lillard?
Not much.
Like Lillard's a better player, sure, but what's the point? Like you're just sitting there, and it's like this is that. I'm just saying like the point of basketball is to win. And it's like if you have a chance to like go somewhere and win, I don't think that's like cheating, like teaming up. Like Damian Lillard's not a top 5 player. You know what I mean? So it's not like he's cheating if he's teaming up with someone. You know what I mean? Like he's never gonna win on his own. You know what I mean? He's not Steph. He's not LeBron James. You know what I mean? So I just think he should try to go get a trade. And honestly, the team that he's kind of chosen, Miami or Brooklyn, they're fine. I wouldn't necessarily go there, but then again, there's not many places that probably are perfect for him. But in any case, I just think something needs to happen there. I think something will happen there unless they're just stupid. And I hope Daniel Lillard gets traded. I hope he finds a home somewhere.
I mean,
Maybe he comes back to the Bay.
I was about to say, I mean, I'd love for him to come on to the Warriors. I don't think it's a possibility.
No, it's not. It's not.
What about the Lakers? Could you see him being in the purple and yellow?
No, I think the teams that really have a realistic chance, like you could see maybe Philadelphia could swing it, maybe.
No, I don't like that. I don't like that.
Yeah, the Knicks could make a deal for him, but that would be a stupid thing for the Knicks because then you'd have 2 small guards starting in your
Yeah.
backcourt, and you're never going to win with 2 small guards starting in your backcourt. So it's just dumb. So I wouldn't do that if I were
Would
them.
he be coming off the bench at that place or no?
Who Lillard?
Yeah, for New York, no.
No, I mean he'd be starting in the backcourt with probably Jalen Brunson, and they'd be playing like a dual point guard backcourt that gets absolutely torched by any decent team. So that wouldn't work. You could go to Boston is a chance. I think that if you surround him with just bigger guys and he's there with Jason Tatum, okay, I could be somewhat convinced of that. But I'd have to see the rest of the team. So I don't know. I will see what happens with him, but I think something needs to happen with him. And if I were a betting man, which I'm not, I would bet that something does happen with him this year. I think the signs are all pointing a little bit more to it than we have in the past. So let's see.
Interesting. Interesting. I I
Yeah.
I hope for the best for him. That's all I could say is I really would hope for the best for him. Always will be a Damian Lillard fan. Um,
Yeah.
he's a great
Nice. He's
and
local.
he's local. I don't know. I like his album. Available on Spotify. Check it out. Uh, he's a cool dude. As far as I'm
Yeah.
concerned. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do wish the best for him. I don't want to see Philly, and I don't want to see Boston. Knicks would be cool. Nothing against the Knicks, but Philly's just, and that's because we were assuming James Harden's leaving. Is that correct?
Yeah, James Harden would be leaving, so it'd be him and Embiid, in the backcourt. I think Brooklyn could be interesting, possibly. If you surround them with those bigger wings that they have, and they have Nick Claxton kind of run the lane and play the 5 and protect him a little bit, that could be interesting. But then, and honestly, I'd give it a shot with that. Maybe there's a way to swing a deal there. So I mean, that could be a place for him. I don't know if they win a championship, but it's worth a shot, I guess.
Yeah,
You know?
interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get off that. Let's go to. This is a little bit of a Warriors thing. This is something Addy had predicted, and it happened. Didn't happen the way I think a lot of people thought it would. I think a lot of people thought that he would be fired. Clearly, kind of not. I mean, let me just ask, what do you think happened there?
I think that he was let go more than him wanting to go.
You do.
I do. I think that he was basically pushed out in favor of trying to elevate his son, Kirk Lacob. Now, I think it's interesting to note if he appoints Kirk Lacob as the GM,
Ugh.
not that it'll matter to anyone really, because he's the owner, he can do whatever he wants, but like the perception around the league will be a negative one. It'll be one of like, oh my god, this is like Succession. Like the HBO show where it's like, okay, which one of the kids is gonna like succeed me? And like while the competent people get pushed to the side. You know what I mean? That would be interesting. Maybe it's Mike Dunleavy, so he tries to save face and elevate Mike Dunleavy to that point. I don't know. But it's gonna be, to me, this news with Bob Myers is really, it's not good news. And I think, like to your point, I think it was more like he was pushed out a little bit.
You do?
At his point. I do a little. I mean, I think I'll put it this way. I don't think he was also desperately clinging on to the job either. I think part of him was like, okay, you kind of want me out. Okay, forget it. I'll just leave. Screw it. Like I don't care that much anyway, because I think to him it's like, I've built this championship team. I have proven what my job is. My job is to build a winner. I built one. Now you could say that some of the key draft picks there were not made by him, right? But nonetheless, the titles were won on his watch, and he was the guy. So I think credit has to go to him, and I think it's a bad loss because this could potentially break up the big three, which is not a good thing because you need to keep them together. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bummer. I think that not only will it be if he were to put his son in the position, I don't think it will just be the league disappointed and making fun of the situation. I think even here locally, especially now, if they were to win and be amazing next year, then of course everyone will bandwagon and be like, yeah, that was a great decision. Most likely they will not. And at that point, everyone will point their finger at that being the reason why.
I think people will point to it as sort of like the beginning of the end. You know what I mean? Like kind of like the end of this dynasty or whatever it is. I don't know what it's called, a dynasty. I don't know what it is, but this run, it's the end.
Yeah, it's clear. Yeah.
And I mean, so I think that would be the sign of it. But like, we'll have to see. Look, I mean, I still think the Warriors can pivot, and I think they can be a contender again next year. I really do think that. I don't think that is out of the realm of possibility at all. Now, look, this Denver team's pretty damn good. They're going to lose players, and they're not going to be probably as good next year. So let's see. But I still have faith that they can make something of this in a positive way.
And the Warriors, what do you think they're going to do next year? They're going to flop, or they're going to trade people away?
I think it all depends on their offseason. Like, to me, their offseason is crucial. Like, who do they sign? Who comes in and becomes the 6th, 7th, and 8th guys off the bench kind of thing that provides the right kind of defense and floor spacing that allows Steph Curry and that pick and roll game to really shine? Who are those 3 guys that come in and do that? And who has to be maybe traded for those 3 guys to come in and do that? I think that to me is the question of what happens. Now, I would feel better about the right guys coming in if Bob Myers was the GM, right? The uncertainty over the GM makes me kind of question now, like, okay, what happens?
Yeah, what happens next?
Right?
Yeah.
But I'm saying in a competent scenario with a good GM, I think the Warriors can come back and contend next year. In a situation with an average GM and maybe the right moves aren't made, then no, I think the window would be closed, for them. So it's an important offseason. There's a lot of things that could happen this offseason, not only with the Warriors but the whole league.
Yeah.
So.
All right. We'll touch back with that when we have more information.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So our last basketball topic, and we're only halfway through the show, just to point out on time, buddy. So we have time to talk about some other stuff. I feel like an ongoing little thing for us here is what's up with our guy, Dwight Howard. I kind of want to keep that going. Dwight once again had something to say. He said he's not retired from the NBA yet. He would love to play for the help the Sacramento Kings contend for a title. And I figured, man, I'd love to hear what Siddhuey has to say about that. You know what, too, real quick, Siddhuey? I'd love to see him on the Kings. Have him join the Kings. Let's see how that turns out.
I mean, if you want to make the Kings a clown show, kind of, sure.
Yep.
And sure, bring him there. Look, I appreciate what Dwight did for the Lakers in 2020 when they helped him win that championship, and that was probably his last stretch of good basketball in his career. Although, actually, in fairness, he was decent the following year in Philadelphia, if I remember correctly.
He was.
He was decent, but coming back now, I don't know what kind of value he's really going to be providing. He's not a backline defender now that can really stop teams, I don't think. He's not someone that can get out on the perimeter and switch. And he's kind of has pretty terrible touch around the basket, and he's really rash and makes bad fouls. I don't know. It's kind of like, if you think about it, JaVale McGee, he's considered now one of the shout out. And this is a bad shout out. I'm sorry, JaVale. He's considered by other people, not me, JaVale, but he's considered by other people having one of the worst contracts in the NBA, right? Because he's not performing at the level that contract is. And by the way, that contract is not that expensive. So that tells you how far he has fallen. He doesn't even play for the team, really.
What team is it again?
He's on Dallas right now.
Yeah,
I still believe he's been away.
Mavs, yeah.
So if he's struggling, I think we can probably reasonably conclude that Dwight would struggle if he were to return to the NBA. So I don't think Dwight should come back to the Kings unless the Kings want to lose next season. So, yeah. You're like, I think otherwise. Well, I think otherwise.
Here's what I really think, though. I don't think he even plans on coming back to the NBA. I don't think he can play. I think that Dwight Howard has realized that he is a powerful internet sensation, and he is now just memeing all over the NBA. And I think that this comment here was a joke. I don't think he's serious.
I'm sure it is.
Maybe he's putting out some feelers, but I think in the back of his mind, he's like, man, this isn't, whatever.
Bro, he was making videos asking people to come to Taiwan.
Yeah.
He's not serious about coming back. He knows this is over. Yeah, and honestly, and we're actually, I don't know if our next story is this. We can maybe actually get a perfect transition into it. So Messi, but I think also if you're Dwight Howard at this stage in your career, you probably enjoy playing against terrible players and just dominating them.
Yeah.
Why do you want to play against good ones and struggle? It's no, I want to go play against bad ones and dominate, And
you think that's what Messi's up to?
No, there's more to what Messi's up to than just that. If you want to transition into that story, we can get to that. There's more to that. I think the Messi thing is about a lot. So one, it's about money. That's the most important thing. Messi is a money-grubbing machine. He has no values really whatsoever. He is just going to take whatever kind of money he gets. Proof of that is that he is an ambassador for Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is one of the worst countries for human rights. Homosexuality, any sort of thing, you can die for that. You get beheaded for it. You can, they silence people, they kill journalists who report on them. This is what it's a tyrannical regime, a dictatorship. Yet he is their ambassador.
I just want to quickly say that I disagree with everything Siddhuey said. If you're listening, anyone over there, I am totally down to come over, and I will take the bag. Continue, Siddhuey.
There you go. You can take that. But their human rights record is not a good one, and their human right is not a good one. And Messi again will take money from them. So the thing with the United States deal is that Messi is coming over. So let's talk about the money first, because that is the most important thing that affects why he is coming here. So I actually kind of kept some of the numbers here. So Messi's salary is not going to look that staggering when you look at it. But the perks with coming here are going to tell you what kind of money this guy's going to make. Basically, Messi is going to receive a percentage now of any league pass subscriptions, MLS league pass subscriptions that are going to happen.
Wait, the MLS is gonna give him that? The
He's
league
going to get
itself?
the league itself. Yeah,
Oh
like
my god.
this is
Oh
Apple.
my god.
So keep in mind, Apple just signed a record-breaking 2.5 billion broadcast contract with the MLS last year. And one of the things that's being reported now is that Apple, who's closely related to Messi, I think they produced one of his documentaries, right? Apple knew that Messi was going to be trying to be coming over here, and that was one of the reasons why they spent so much, is that they know this is going to be worth a lot more with him coming over, right? So Apple is probably the one behind this thing with him getting the kind of percentage of the league pass subscriptions. There's already a documentary series that's on him that's being ordered. So basically, Apple TV Plus is now like Messi TV Plus. You know what I mean? Like it's his network. Messi, who's also an Adidas athlete, he's Adidas's top athlete in the world. He is, and so he is going to receive a percentage of the Adidas jersey sales. So it is a part of this, and all like the billboards, all that kind of stuff. Like he receives all a percentage of all the marketing that comes into it, which is something that's basically never been seen before in terms of like marketing for the MLS. So if you consider that like ticket prices in the MLS like just exploded with the announcement of him coming over, like his first game now, like the minimum season ticket, the minimum price for the ticket is like $500 or something. So if you consider like what kind of buzz this is already generating and the kind of percentages that Messi's going to receive from both Apple TV Plus and Adidas for this is going to be quite a lucrative deal for Mr. Lionel Messi. Okay, quite a lucrative deal. So he is going to make a lot of money, and I think that's a big reason. Now he probably could have made more in Saudi Arabia, which was another country that was offering him a massive contract to come over there. Saudi Arabia is trying to get a lot of players. They already have Cristiano Ronaldo who's over there, and we're going to touch on them in a second. But they asked him to come over there, but Messi decided not to. Messi already has a home in Miami. Prior to this, he already owns a home there. His family's pretty comfortable there because there's a lot of Spanish-speaking people in Miami, right? So like for him, it's kind of an easier transition than going to Saudi Arabia. And also like there's going to be, I think, other South American players who are coming over to Miami, that team, which will make him feel even more comfortable and so on. So I think that's a big part of it. And to the point that kind of brought us to this story, he's playing against lesser competition. So it'll give him a chance to kind of go out there and probably dominate and coast and have a good time. So I think all of those things are factoring into it. And so, yeah, I'm curious to know, though, what do you, as someone who doesn't care about soccer and certainly doesn't care about the MLS, does this make you feel anything? Do you care at all about this news? What do you think?
I have a bunch of soccer jerseys, but I have one jersey in particular. I have a Messi jersey because I was supposed to see him play in Barcelona.
Yeah.
But then the game got canceled because there was like a civil war breaking out in Barcelona when I happened to be there. Jibber jabber. So I think it's interesting. I couldn't believe it. I still thought it was a joke when I saw that this morning. I was like, what? No. Because the greatest soccer players in the world do not come to America. That's insane. Like I've been to a couple MLS games. Earthquakes, baby. I'm still going to be an Earthquake fan. I'm not going to switch over to Miami. Like I'm Earthquakes through and through, bro. Come on now. That's our team here locally. And they have an awesome stadium. They do. They have a killer stadium in San Jose. And the vibe is really fun at those games. It's a really fun vibe there. But at the same time, look, I'm a human. We've all seen the memes and the different video packages of what happens overseas with soccer games. It's kind of outrageous, ridiculous, and almost embarrassing as a human. How people and what they do at these games. They take it real serious. It's crazy to think he'd come over here to the fourth least popular sport in America. Now, obviously, the MLS is hoping that they'll at least be more popular than the NHL by the end of next year. That's their hopes. And maybe even if they are, that's still going to be international, not actually here in the U.S. Like maybe a ton of people will watch these games, his games in particular, so their views are going to be up, but the NHL views are still here in the U.S. and Canada, North America, because Canada watches a ton of hockey, so you know. But we're talking about like to me it's NBA, NFL, then it would be MLB. Then I always and personally have always thought it's NHL, and then maybe it's MLS. For me it's SLS, but hey, Street League, baby. I just think it's wild to think he'd come here and do that. But now that you said that he's going to get a percentage of the jerseys, he's going to get a percentage of the TV rights or whatever, clearly there's some backdoor money coming in his pocket to want him to come here. And the league, the MLS, is thinking to themselves, we're gonna push ourselves up the totem pole here in the United States. Look at the rest of the world. It's a huge sport everywhere else but here. We're going to go up. It's a smart move, I guess. If he also, Siddhuey, if he's the guy to make soccer popular in the U.S., he becomes a real worldwide name. He's a worldwide name. But is he here in the U.S.? Not really. I know who he is. You know who he is.
I think he is. To me, I think you're off. Like he's huge in the U.S. When he comes to the U.S., you should see the reactions that he gets. He can't walk through. I'm telling you, he's.
You think he's bigger than Tom Brady? That's what you're saying? No.
In the United States?
No, bro.
I think, dude, he's not going to be talked about on TV, but I promise you, like, when he's walking through the streets, like, yeah, he's going to get mobbed, like, just like Tom Brady would.
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's TikTok stars who walk down the streets and get mobbed in the U.S. Like, what are we talking about? It's a crazy world now.
It doesn't matter. Regardless of his United States fame, he's like the world's most famous athlete. So it's kind of like it doesn't really matter what the United States says or does.
But what I'm saying though is that if you could take that another country that isn't popular in that sport, if you could take this country who for years hasn't given a shit about soccer, and I know that's hard for you to hear because you love soccer. But I'm saying, what if he does? What if they knock down hockey? What if they knock down the MLB? What if all of a sudden it's NBA, NFL, MLS? Let's see, MLS.
Dude, look, his purpose, I think, for being here is to elevate some of the television ratings. I'm sure he's there to do that, but it'll be short-lived. And he's really there to help keep the interest in soccer in the United States up until the World Cup, where all of the television sponsors and things like that, even Apple TV and all of these people are going to be making a lot of money. His job is just to keep the interest up enough for that. He's not going to overtake any sport while he's here. That's ridiculous. He's just there to keep the interest up, which he will do, which he probably will do. Because he's an interesting character to me. Right? Here's the best way I can explain him to kind of a U.S. audience in terms of his like marketing ability. Imagine if Michael Jordan had no personality. Imagine if Michael Jordan was someone who, with that same remarkable nature, flying through the air, doing things you never have seen before, but he didn't have a real personality. He is the most swaggerless athlete you have ever seen. Imagine Michael Jordan is the most swaggerless athlete you've ever seen, right? But he's Michael Jordan on the court, right? Or he's Michael Jordan. For the rest of the world, his lack of personality has never mattered to anyone.
Yeah.
Because like I said, he's so remarkable.
Yeah.
That you cannot help but just be like, oh my God. I maintain that, like, I've always felt, because soccer is the most played sport in the world. That's not like a debate. It is the most played sport in the world. that for someone to become the greatest of all time in that sport and to do it like so clearly, you become by virtue of that like the greatest athlete because you have elevated in the toughest sport to elevate to the top. You have gotten there. Now I'm not considering physical attributes, right, which some people consider when they consider athleticism, right? They consider, can you jump high, can you run fast, can you do different types of things, right? Some people might say a decathlete is the greatest athlete because someone who can do the decathlon, right, is doing these crazy events and multiple stuff. But in any case, the point about Messi is for the rest of the world, for me personally, like I can only speak, I'll speak to me, for example, or as a reference. He's my favorite athlete of all time. I love Kobe Bryant, for example, as you well know, and there's other guys in other sports I like. Lionel Messi is 1,000 times to me more fun to watch than Kobe Bryant ever was. And I love Kobe. I love the Lakers. Like, think about that. Messi's 1,000 times better than that. Like, he's a million country miles ahead of anyone else I've ever seen play any sport in terms of interest, right? But the guy has zero personality. And a lot of the things that morally he probably believes in, I'm totally against it. It's just, but he's remarkable. Now that works for the rest of the world. That works because they know the game, they see what he does, and he's ridiculous, right? But this is an older version coming to the U.S. So the U.S. is not going to be seeing the same guy who would pick up the ball from one side of the field, dribble through the entire team, and go score. They're not going to see that guy. I mean, maybe because the MLS is so bad, maybe he does, but like probably not. So part of what's going to sell for him is like being a personality of sorts, but he's not that. You're not going to see him charm you on a late night show. He doesn't even speak English. So it's like, how does this going to work in the U.S.? He's not going to elevate the sport to some crazy level. To me, he's just going to help maintain interest until the World Cup.
But I think it will. I think what you got to think about, Siddhuey, is the interest in the MLS is already bottom of the barrel. So any rise for them is a giant rise for them, like a giant rise for them. So I think it is. I just think you're right. It's not going to overthrow. Nothing's going to overthrow football in this country. Even basketball and how big basketball has become. A lot of the reason basketball is really big is because it's international sales. It is. It's a lot of it is international. It's not even here in the U.S. It's overseas how big basketball is getting in Japan or China or these other places, right? That's what's making basketball succeed. Football is just here. I don't even like football personally. I think it's all right. But America loves it. It is the pastime. Baseball was.
Yeah, we're gonna be talking about football like a ton when the fall comes. So you better get used to it, bro. We're talking some football.
And here's what I'm gonna say to you. And you're gonna get bummed. But here's why soccer sucks. And same with football and same with baseball. Until drones are way more useful and can really get in there to film, the reason basketball, and that's my favorite ball sport, is number one is because and from a filmmaker's point of view, the camera work and how they're able to change the angles and how tight the court is, because the court is a lot smaller versus a soccer field versus a baseball field or a football field. You're able to really control the situation, and you're going from point A to point B, and it's very tight. Baseball, you don't know where the ball's going. So it's very hard to predict that. You know what I'm saying? And then they're throwing it back. It's very difficult. Soccer's kind of the same thing as football, only on a larger scale. It is very hard as a filmmaker, and they're really far away in these giant-ass stadiums, dude, massive stadiums.
Yeah.
It's a very hard, controlled area to film. And I think here in the U.S., the reason I think basketball also has become very popular, on top of the swag that basketball players have, is it looks good on tape. They even got the dude on the ground that's filming the player. The player's coming on top of him. They're getting the shot. It looks so cool. Soccer, and yes, I've watched a bunch of it with you and a lot with BK over the years, especially during the freaking what did you just call it? The Soccer Olympics.
World Cup, yeah.
The Soccer Olympics. It is a boring ass thing to watch, bro. I'm sorry, bro. I like,
So, okay,
and the
so
time clock is going. They're adding on time at the end. Fix that rule, dummies. Like, what is going on here? You know, and
look,
oh, it's big over. I don't care about these other countries. You know, like
so
whatever. You know,
I mean, look, I don't think if you don't like the sport, you don't like the sport. Like there are sports that I don't like that I'm sure other people enjoy like thoroughly. You know what I mean? Like so, it's like that I don't even
lacrosse.
care. I don't care about like, any of that. But like what I will say, look, in the point of I'm not defending soccer, it's interest. It's the most popular sport in the world. I don't have to defend it's how if people enjoy it. But the thing with Messi coming over here, like I said, he is not going to change the perception of the sport. He's just not. He's not going to get people to jump out of their seats. Like, I don't think a lot of what makes Messi incredible is like his just general like anticipation of the game, his play, his way to link play together, his inch perfect passing. You know, these aren't things like about Jokic earlier. Jokic makes inch perfect passes all the time, but you were mentioning like he's not that exciting to watch, right? Messi, you could argue at this stage in his career, isn't as much for American fans. He's a name, right? What Messi is the greatest soccer player ever, and Americans love knowing that they have the greatest of anything in their country. Americans love that shit.
That's a big one,
right? And he is the GOAT.
And I think too, Siddhu, though. I think what you're talking about is you're talking about an immediate change, but I think what the MLS is hopeful for is growth with the youth and future change. So 20 years from now, you'll see the effect that Messi had on us currently.
That's what. Look, I hear what you're saying.
I'm just going. I have no fall in this court.
No.
You know what I mean? I'm just saying.
No, I hear what you're saying, but what I would say in response is U.S. soccer and many people within U.S. soccer have sort of parroted this same thing when David Beckham came here.
Yeah, totally.
They said the same bullshit when Zlatan came here. And honestly, I personally think Zlatan was even a better ambassador for the game than Messi can be because Zlatan's interesting in interviews. He would say crazy quotes that people would talk about on talk shows, right? That brought interest, I think, to the game a little bit. Now,
but Messi's the greatest. Like he's the greatest.
He's the greatest, and he's gonna draw like his first game is gonna get crazy ratings. It just will. Yeah. Like casuals are gonna tune in to watch Lionel Messi play. I get it, right? And Messi is capable of moments of magic. I just don't understand. I just don't know if Americans are gonna like see the magic. You know what I mean?
If they win, I think what happened with Beckham because I remember that.
He's coming to a bad team.
But you said they're bringing other players over as well.
They might, but they haven't brought them over yet. That's so it's more like that's what they're saying.
I think with Beckham though, you went to a sports city, and I'm not trying to shit on Miami right now because I know they're in the finals right now with basketball, which is coincidental. They haven't. I mean, other than the Heat, they're not really a sports city. They have the Heat, and the Heat have done it. They did it with Shaq. They did it again with LeBron. Wade was there for both, but like. I think this might put Miami more on the sports. Like, look, in LA, you got the Angels, you had the Dodgers, you got the Clippers, you got the Lakers, and that I know that predates the Rams coming back, but like they had 4 predominant sports teams on top of the LA. See, I'm not even remember their names right now. What is the soccer team's name?
The LAFC.
Is that what they're called? That was who Beckham played for?
Yeah, LA Galaxy.
Galaxy. That was the name.
Yeah.
I just think it was like a kind of like it was because I remember that time period when it was a big deal there for a second. It was a big deal, and it faded. You're very right, Siddhu. It faded very quickly. He was here. It was like, oh, he's still here. It was like almost a year later. You're like, oh, he's still here. Oh, that's cool. I think with him, it also goes to PR. It's the PR team that's behind the situation in Miami that has to really make this a big deal for a longer period of time. By year 2, they need us to still want to talk about this. If we're still talking about this next year on the same show, and we're like, oh, Messi year 2, what's he going to do? That proves that they're doing their job correctly over there. And I think the one thing that we seem to forget about sports or anything, and this goes even to movies, it's all about the PR team you put behind that project, whether it be a movie, an athlete, whatever it is. MLS has a possibility right now. I don't know why I'm playing Mr. MLS here, but the MLS has a possibility right now to really push this up. I truly do believe that they could pass hockey up. Because who really gives a shit about hockey? Have you cared about hockey ever?
No, I don't, but like,
Canada does. Like,
the thing to me that it's gonna always hurt soccer
Galaxy ID wrote.
is really that it's
Dolphins.
not
I
a,
forgot about the Dolphins. I'm sorry. Interrupt real quick. I did forget about
yeah,
the Dolphins.
yeah, and I was gonna say too about the Miami sports situation. The Heat get a lot of coverage. Obviously, the Panthers are in the Stanley Cup Finals right now.
Oh, man, they have
And
a
then
hockey team? I didn't even know that.
yeah, the Panthers are in the Stanley Cup Finals right now.
Horrible name.
And yeah, and then the Dolphins are actually super popular in South Florida. If you didn't know, so like they just
But
are.
they haven't been popular since Ace Ventura won.
They're popular down there. That's what I'm saying. Anyway, look, Messi's gonna. There's a huge Latin audience there. He's gonna have season. They're gonna be sold out. That's not a problem, right? That's not an issue. But the thing with like Messi is like I don't know, man. Like he's 35 years old, and they can make the storylines and they can do the different things, but I just don't think it's going to be enough to pass up like what's already there, like the status quo, because soccer is not associated with Americans really. Like it's not associated with Americana, and all the sports try to sell you some Americana. Every sport tries to sell you some of it, right?
Yep.
Football sells you the more conservative version. So does baseball, right? The idea of like, fatigues, faith, family football, right? That's the great one, right? Faith, family football. It's like, what army, military, right? Then you have like the basketball, which is more like, you could say, I put in air quotes, left leaning kind of nonsense. You know what I mean? Like more like,
yeah, I guess.
more that that America part, like it's more like diverse. That part of America, but still American. You know what I mean? Still very much like that. There's a reason why the biggest superstars in basketball are not foreign superstars, all American born ones. We prefer our Americans.
Jimmy
right?
Butler, baby. Jimmy Butler.
like Jimmy Butler, who's a bigger star than Nikola Jokic.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
That's the joke I was making.
We prefer our Americans, So I don't think soccer is associated with that. I've always felt for the United States to really take off as a soccer country, we need to have the best player in the world.
Come from here.
He needs to be born
Homegrown.
here.
Yeah.
He needs to be someone that when you hear him in an interview, I'm sorry to say this, but when you hear him in an interview, like he's got to speak like one of us. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
I get what you're saying.
I'm sorry to say that. Like I'm not trying to be like nationalistic or whatever, but it's got to be like an American.
But
even
Justin,
if it's someone who's brown like me.
Couldn't that be happening right now with young kid?
No.
Listen. That watches Messi in the next few years. And then he goes and does an interview 10 years from now and says, I was 12 years old. I saw Messi when he signed over. I fell in love with soccer. You don't think that's possible?
That's possible, but the real problem, soccer is already really popular already enough in this country as it is. I don't think Messi's going to change that. The problem is U.S. soccer is it is discriminatory. U.S. soccer is something that they try to keep it into the white suburban families basically, who get orange slices and play that way with soccer moms, all of that. They have the pay-to-play system.
I've heard that. Yep.
Which makes it expensive for lower income families to play. They're trying to bar them out of it. So when people say, why don't we produce a great soccer player? It's because we're cutting off more than half the country. We don't want more than half the country to play, which, by the way, that part of the country is brown or black. Like they don't want that part of the country to be really involved in the game. And basically non-affluent
areas, not even country, like areas.
Non-affluent areas, right? And those areas generally, the ones that they kind of don't want to play are Latin ones or black ones, you know what I mean? That don't have that access. So you're barring those people from playing. So no, I don't think, to me.
That's a really good point, dude. You just kind of, wow.
So I don't. Again, Messi's not changing anything. He's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
Messi. Don't ever forget, Messi is here to collect a big paycheck for Lionel Messi.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
He's here for him.
I see what you're saying now. That
He's here for him.
you just sold me on the whole like pay to play thing. And while you're saying that, I just want to say that right now you could buy a sheet of grip tape from hellagrip.com. We don't hold back on anyone. Anyone can do extreme sports. There's no leagues.
Look, for example, like, I mean, look, soccer should be the most accessible sport. You just need a ball. And even then, it could be like any almost type of ball. You could play with a tennis ball if you're playing a small sided game. You can play, like, it is an easy game to play for so many different people.
Same with basketball, too, though, right? You just need the ball because there's courts everywhere around America.
There are courts.
Yeah, but there's not a league that you can join into.
But the point, you don't even need a court to play soccer. You just need like a little bit of space and a ball. Like a ball is all you need. That is what has made, to me, one of the reasons the sport is so popular. It's so accessible. It's so accessible to the population, to any population.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I get what you're saying, but not here in California. You know, most people in especially where me and you grew up with, everyone's getting rid of their lawns.
But it's not. Look, the
fire safety, bro.
The culture of soccer isn't here like that. Like, okay, when I went to Sweden to go play soccer, this isn't a brag. This is like just I did that, right?
That's good shit. Yeah. What?
No, I was playing, in the Youth World Cup and stuff. I was out there. But, I was out there, right? But like when I was out there, like we were all staying. Like you go outside in the evenings on like the street, like little just patches of like street, right? People are playing.
Yeah.
People are playing. Like it is a part of their culture to play the game like that. It's not a part of us here. So you're talking about fields and all this stuff, man. You go to like Brazil, they're out in like in between. When we play ultimate frisbee, they're playing soccer.
No, dude, it's like that in Mexico too. I've been to Mexico and seen them playing it everywhere. I mean, even when I've been to Spain, it's like that as well. You know, I mean, so I totally get it. Yeah, I mean,
it's probably an accessible game. So, like I said, Messi's not going to change anything here as far as elevating whatever.
But that's what they're hopeful for.
They're hopeful for it. I think what they're really hopeful for is that the interest remains for the World Cup, so they get huge ratings for that.
Yeah,
that is massive. That's a big thing in the United States because that event can truly be a transformative thing. You know how many soccer players came out of the 92 or the 92 World Cup? The 92, 94. I'm totally blanking right now. The one in the United States, the one that I went to with my dad and stuff, right? That one that came locally here into California, like that one it created a lot of interest in soccer in this country. World Cups have that power, and they could do the same thing this time around in 2026.
Yeah.
So to me, Messi is like, he's like someone who's like you brought on to kind of keep the power going, right? Like just like you got to maintain the power, brother, and maybe elevate a little bit, like you said, elevate a little bit, maintain that power, and get us to the World Cup when the World Cup takes over.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying because then you're rooting. Yeah. Addy said basketballs still have to bounce. Some homies make soccer balls out of plastic bags and twine. I get that theory too. Sure. I get the popularity of soccer worldwide or football. Addy said Tampa Bay is huge in sports, but we're not talking about Tampa Bay, Addy. Tampa's also famous for being the place that we play. It holds the #1 skateboard contest in the world and AM contest in the world as well.
So it's a good call. It is a good call.
Tampa is obviously a huge sports place here. It legit holds, and I'm going to keep going now. It legit holds the longest running contest in skateboarding. That's crazy. The longest running contest is in Tampa. From my understanding, though, it's a pretty scummy area, just surrounding the contest itself. It's pretty hoodie. And I just heard that from skateboarders and podcasts and stuff. I've never been. I would love to attend that, but I have not been. I get everything you're saying, Siddhuey. I do. I'm just saying I'm arguing in behalf of the MLS and what they're hopeful for. I do think it's a money play. Nonetheless, it's all about money. At the end of the day, even if they were to capitalize on these other sports, the one that you didn't point out is obviously NHL. And clearly the NHL is very popular in North America because of our Canadian brothers above us. They obviously love it because it's cold, and that's what they're into because they have ice everywhere. And kind of like what you were saying about soccer fields everywhere, when it hits winter up north, everything turns into ice. They can play it everywhere, So that also kind of plays into that. Not to the level. I mean, I actually don't know because I've only been to Canada twice and I wasn't there to play hockey.
You don't say.
Like I said, I enjoy the live atmosphere of soccer because the fans go effing crazy and everything. It's cool, but I'm just saying from when you're watching it at home, because I didn't grow up with it and I didn't play. I played soccer, but I didn't play to the level that you played, and I didn't continue on into middle school and so forth and so on. I don't have that attraction. I fell in love with extreme sports, which in my opinion, visually is a lot more appealing. Visually, just watching it. So I mean, that's just me.
Yeah, it's all preference. I mean, you don't like the NFL, right, that much. So it's like and that's like the most popular one. So it's like, in any case, you're right.
You want to hear my opinion on the NFL though, real quick? Is if they threw the fucking ball more often, it would be cool. But most of the time you watch most of the time you watch NFL games, it is little side passer. I fucking hate that shit, dude. I want to see, them chucking it down and not short chucks. I want to see long grabs and shit, and you don't see it that much no more, man. Like, you just don't, bro. We'll get into it more when we talk NFL, but it just doesn't exist, bro. And with basketball, every minute, it's like, it's crazy. Like, it is, dude. It's like, it's a very fast-paced game. It's made for highlights. It's made for highlights, and I enjoy that. Soccer, shit, you're lucky if there's 5 points, and that's a crazy-ass game, correct? That's a crazy-ass game if there's 5 points. So, I mean, it's just a very low-scoring game. And I don't know. I just don't personally. Am I going to watch some? Yeah. And I have watched it over the years. It just.
Yeah. No. I mean, to each his own with that. Yeah, for sure. To each his own. I mean, it's like, I enjoy it, but like, whatever. It's just.
My other thing is that ball sports don't have rewatchability, and they don't. It's like once you know who the winner is, you know who the winner is. That's that. Moving on. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh, when's the next game? That's cool. But I like. The thing I teach the Hello Grip boys especially is I always say shoot clips that are timeless. It's about the right trick at the right location, and then with the right song, that footage can be, won't feel dated. That's what we really, at Hello Grip, we go out there to shoot videos that won't be dated 5 years from now. Some people, they just shoot tricks, and they got to constantly be putting them out because they're going to get out of date real quick. I don't like that style. Even in my own industry, I don't like that style. So, there's different ways. And I feel like with team sports, it's very like, you can't watch a game from, you could, but a normal person isn't going to watch a game from 5-6 years ago. A non-championship game, especially that had nothing on the line, they ain't going to watch it. They ain't. Your average person. Anyways, this is a lot longer of a conversation. Let's play one last clip, and then we're out of here, Siddhu. My last clip, and I know Siddhu has a lot more to say about this, so we're just going to end it by showing the clip because I just thought it was freaking crazy, dude. This, to me, is why I think soccer shouldn't be popular worldwide, because soccer fans and just the atmosphere of soccer is deadly. Here is a poor referee with his wife and his daughter, I think, and their chair just got thrown at him. This dude tries to fight him. Cops can't even. These cops in England too, because they don't have guns. And I know I'm usually not a gun fan here, but because they don't have guns, these cops are pretty much useless. Like, they're not doing anything. They're legit not doing anything. It's just, this is one of the wildest. I don't think this is England. This is some other country because that was in England.
I think it's Italy. That they were in.
That's Italy.
I forget where the Europa League final was. I'm totally blanking.
Oh, yeah, Rome. It says Rome right here, too.
Okay.
Bro, I just could not believe this clip when I saw it. I thought this was one of the scariest clips I've ever seen.
We're gonna do an episode later about soccer fans and just the craziness of it, and I'll explain a lot about how crazy this gets because this is a crazy event, and this has drawn a lot of attention in the soccer world. I'm not trying to brush over it, but we'll talk about some crazier things too.
Just throwing
You
shares.
know, it's wild, but yeah,
This man and his poor family, bro.
it's insane, bro. Like it's just yeah, it's crazy how that works. But yeah, we'll talk more about that and like in greater detail. Like we'll probably it'll probably take a whole episode to like break down fan stuff in soccer because it is yeah, and especially Italy, which is quite. It's Italy and Spain. We're gonna go into probably by more in depth because they are two of the worst.
Dude,
So yeah,
insane, dude. I had to play this clip because
it's
when I saw it, I was like,
one
man, I gotta share this to do on the show because this is
one
just
of one of the reasons the Premier League, you probably heard that name, the English Premier League, is so popular here in the United States is one because they speak English, so it's very easy for people to understand the language and that they connect better with languages they understand, right, than ones they don't. That's one. Two, the reason is the presentation of the game is so incredible. England has kind of rid themselves of a lot of the hooliganism that you see in some of the other countries, right? They always make sure their soccer pitches are pristine. Like the grass is like perfect. It's a carpet is perfect, right? So visually it looks good. Aesthetically it looks pleasing to the people who are watching it, right? They've also and they make it so kids go to the games, things like that, which adds to the atmosphere, right? It should be fun for
family
kids.
friendly. Yeah.
Yeah. So they've kind of gained a lot in those areas, and we'll talk about those other countries and kind of where they've failed a little bit. As one, just fan behavior in that way, also racism, which is a huge thing over there. So yeah, we'll talk all that later. But yeah, this is a good show.
Just dangerous, dude. Just danger. They're shooting like
Yeah.
flamethrowers and stuff at some of these games. It's insane, bro. They're like lighting stuff on fire, ripping chairs out the ground. If that happened here, bro, everyone would be getting tased and maced in no time at all. Am I right?
I'm just,
like tased
I'm
and
gonna
maced.
yeah. I'll send you a video for that show that we do. I could probably find it now. Maybe you want to show it, but like where it's basically like it's like a war going off in the crowd while the soccer game's going on. Like it's literally like there's so many flares and stuff just going off. It's just like
I
insane.
think I don't know if I've seen the exact clip, but I've seen some crazy ones online, dude.
Yeah, it gets crazy, Maybe we'll do that. We'll do that another show.
Yeah, we'll do that another show. We'll do that another show. We've gone on long.
Yeah.
All right, Siddhu. That was a great convo, bro. I know you have a lot to say about soccer. That is your, soccer Siddhu is kind of like that's your other nickname that people don't realize. So we'll especially once basketball's over, we'll get a lot more into the real football. And I'll say this too, Siddhu. I like I think I like soccer. Actually, I don't. You know what? No. You know what?
You don't like that? I don't.
I was about to say something that might have been controversial. I'll save that controversial statement for when we actually do our soccer episode.
Okay. I also found that little clip if you ever wanted to see it. But
put it in our Discord and we'll talk about it next time.
All right, sounds good, bro. Yeah, let's do it.
Addy, thanks for watching, bro. We appreciate you, doggy. Really. We do this just for you, man.
Really.
Other people, if you're watching this after we aren't live, like, subscribe, turn on post notifications so you know that when we're live. We usually do this weekly. We need to figure out a day of the week that we're going to be doing this weekly on a certain day. That way we can build up a little bit more fan base. But that's for another conversation for another time. Everyone, thanks for checking it out. Siddhuey Reviewy, over and out.